Trump and Netanyahu probably just had the bombshell news conference of the century. You gotta watch this thing. I'm gonna give you a play-by-play. I'm gonna give you the highlights of what exactly went on, so you don't have to watch the entire thing. Watch it, enjoy it, revel in it. It was just, I mean, this thing was good. This thing was really good. Okay, let's jump right in. President Trump is about to talk about Gaza and what he thinks should happen in the near future there. Let's watch.
It should not go through a process of rebuilding and occupation by the same people that have really stood there and fought for it and lived there and died there and lived a miserable existence there. Instead, we should go to other countries of interest with humanitarian hearts, and there are many of them that want to do this, and build various domains that will ultimately be occupied by the 1.8 million Palestinians living in Gaza, ending the death and destruction and, frankly, bad luck. This can be paid for by neighboring countries of great wealth. It could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 12. It could be numerous sites, or it could be one large site. But the people will be able to live in comfort and peace, and we'll make sure something really spectacular is done. They're going to have peace. They're not going to be shot at and killed and destroyed like this civilization of wonderful people has had to endure. The only reason the Palestinians want to go back to Gaza is they have no alternative.
Whoa, a lot to unpack. Essentially, what Donald Trump is saying, with a lot of empathy, by the way, I got to give it to the guy. He's saying that he doesn't want the Palestinians to move back to Gaza, A, because they can't, B, because we've seen this happen so many times in history before, and C, he actually wants to give them a nice life. He actually wants to give them an opportunity where they can actually thrive and survive. And if I have to move myself a little bit from the right to the center, and I look at the situation from the perspective of a Palestinian, I actually understand why they go through so much suffering. They live in suffering. So if here's a people that is suffering all day, every day, then they're going to be desperate. They're going to elect people like Hamas to be their leaders because they know nothing else. They see that's the only way out. If these people actually lived a life where they were able to thrive and survive, and they were able to build a life for themselves, maybe they wouldn't be so hell-bent on destroying Israel. Maybe they would actually be more excited to build their own future. And Donald Trump said something very interesting here, which is that he actually wants to have the United States control of the region. We've heard of Qatar taking it over, of Egypt taking it over, of Saudi Arabia taking it over, the United Arab Emirates taking it over. Never before have we heard this idea that the United States will control Gaza, but actually it makes the most sense. They're probably one of the biggest benefactors of the region, and they're the closest allies to Israel. So why not have them do the controlling of that region? And Israel, by the way, welcomes this. You should know, my Israeli friends and counterparts, they welcome very much have the United States control that part of Gaza. Although it's not a simple relationship, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of details that they're going to have to work out. But nonetheless, this is something that's welcomed across Israel. I'm interrupting this video for 15 seconds to tell you about my business, which is called Wealthy Recruiting. We recruit everything from operations people to business development people. If you are looking for great people to work in your business, please go to berylsolomon.com and reach out to us. We would love to hear from you.
As far as Gaza is concerned, we'll do what is necessary. If it's necessary, we'll do that. We're going to take over that piece, and we're going to develop it, create thousands and thousands of jobs, and it'll be something that the entire Middle East can be very proud of.
So now the president is taking questions from the press, and let's see as the press digs into him, because again, he just dropped a bombshell. This is something that nobody expected, myself included. I've been following this story so closely for years, for decades, and nobody expected such a thing. So let's see the president react to the press corps.
I do see a long-term ownership position, and I see it bringing great stability to that part of the Middle East and maybe the entire Middle East. And everybody I've spoken to, this was not a decision made lightly. Everybody I've spoken to loves the idea of the United States owning that piece of land, developing and creating thousands of jobs with something that will be magnificent in a really magnificent area that nobody would know. Nobody can look because all they see is death and destruction and rubble and demolished buildings falling all over. It's just a terrible sight.
Again, the president is doubling down on the fact that America will own the Gaza Strip. Now, what does that mean? All the implications, time will tell. But the president is doubling down on the fact that this is not, coming in and cleaning up and leaving. He wants to take over this piece of land, and it's so brilliant for so many reasons because the United States wants a stronghold in the Middle East. They need a stronghold in the Middle East. They left Afghanistan, and when they withdrew from Afghanistan, that was essentially their bases in the Middle East. Now they're going to have a base, a place to call their own right there in the Middle East so that they could have a foot on the ground and they could actually insert their influence, insert their power in that region.
You are talking tonight about the United States taking over a sovereign territory. What authority would allow you to do that? Are you talking about a permanent occupation there, redevelopment? And Mr. Prime Minister, do you see this idea as a way to expand the boundaries of Israel and to have a longer peace, even though the Israeli people know how important that land is to you and your citizens, just as the space is inherited by the Palestinians as well?
Here, President Trump is about to call on one of his favorite reporters. Her name is Kelly. She's been embarrassed so many times. I believe she's from CNN. Let's see how this plays out.
I do see a long-term ownership position, and I see it bringing great stability to that part of the Middle East and maybe the entire Middle East. And everybody I've spoken to, this was not a decision made lightly. Everybody I've spoken to loves the idea of the United States owning that piece of land, developing and creating thousands of jobs with something that will be magnificent in a really magnificent area that nobody would know. Nobody can look because all they see is death and destruction and rubble and demolished buildings falling all over. It's just a terrible sight. I've studied it. I've studied this very closely over a lot of months, and I've seen it from every different angle. And it's a very, very dangerous place to be, and it's only going to get worse. And I think this is an idea that's gotten tremendous, and I'm talking about from the highest level of leadership, gotten tremendous praise. And if the United States can help to bring stability and peace in the Middle East, we'll do that. Bibi?
Again, the president is just simply not backing down. You heard it from himself. He wants an ownership position in Gaza. This is just unprecedented. We've never heard such a bombastic idea come out of any country. Forget about it, the United States. Any country. I mean, and it's just completely in line with what Trump has been doing lately, whether it's been with, Iceland or whether it's been with Mexico or Canada or any other, or Panama. Trump is on this sort of imperialistic vendetta in the world. And I think that Israel has a huge benefit with actually giving a piece of land to the United States because they're their greatest ally in the region. But President Trump is not backing down here.
I've studied it. I've studied this very closely over a lot of months, and I've seen it from every different angle. And it's a very, very dangerous place to be, and it's only going to get worse. And I think this is an idea that's gotten tremendous, and I'm talking about from the highest level of leadership, gotten tremendous praise. And if the United States can help to bring stability and peace in the Middle East, we'll do that.
So this is all nice for President Trump to say, but what does Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu have to say about it? Let's see his reaction.
I mentioned again tonight our three goals, and the third goal is to make sure that Gaza never poses a threat to Israel again. President Trump is taking it to a much higher level. He sees a different future for that piece of land that has been the focus of so much terrorism so many attacks against us, so many trials and so many tribulations. He has a different idea. And I think it's worth paying attention to this. We're talking about it. He's exploring it with his people, with his staff. I think it's something that could change history. And it's worthwhile really pursuing this avenue.
So it seems that Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu actually welcomes the idea. He likes the idea. And you have to also understand that this is not a stupid guy. This is a guy who has guided Israel through the most turbulent times in history, who has transformed the country in so many ways. He has intelligence that we have no idea what he truly knows, what he knows behind closed doors. The information that we're getting from these two men is really just the tip of the iceberg. So it seems that the Prime Minister believes that the president's idea happens to be a very good idea for the land of Israel. Now the focus is about to shift to the hostages. Let's see what President Trump has to say.
We've gotten quite a few hostages out. We're going to get more out. But we're dealing with very complex people. And we are going to see whether or not it holds. We certainly want to have more come out. They've come out damaged in many ways, very damaged people. But they're going to get better, and they're going to be strong, and they're going to have a good life. And we hope to get as many as possible out. Whether or not it holds, I don't know. We hope it holds. We hope it holds.
And the last moment of this press conference answers a lot of questions on people's minds. Let's watch.
I have a feeling that the king in Jordan and that the general president, but that the general in Egypt will open their hearts and will give us the kind of land that we need to get this done, and people can live in harmony and in peace. Thank you all very much. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. What the president is saying is that forever the Gaza Strip has been the problem of Israel. It's been Israel's problem. Anybody who understands geography, if you've ever looked at a map, Israel already in itself is tiny. And then you have Gaza, which is this little tiny sliver, a little tiny strip within Israel. And you have 2 million people, almost 2 million people that are crammed into that little tiny strip that is already destroyed. And it borders Egypt and has no other way to do any type of trade or freedom of movement. And what the president is suggesting is that Egypt or Jordan or Saudi Arabia or whoever it is should carve out a parcel of land. Have you ever seen the size of Egypt compared to Israel on a map? You guys can't understand this problem without understanding geography. What the president is saying is these countries need to carve out a piece of land for the Palestinians to start fresh. There's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with starting fresh. And everybody thinks it's a travesty to the Palestinians. It's a travesty to Gaza. It couldn't be more opposite than that. This is the kindest thing that anybody has ever given to the Palestinians. Everyone always talks about the two-state solution. If it was a solution, it would have been done already. They've been talking about the two-state solutions for decades and decades and decades and decades. It never happened. You know why? Because it's not really a solution. What the president has put forth is a real, concrete, practical solution that will allow Israel to finally live in peace and will allow the Palestinians to finally rebuild a place and a country of their own. I hope you enjoyed this segment. If you did, please leave me a like, please subscribe, please leave me a comment. It's been a pleasure spending this time with you. God bless, and may we see peace in the Middle East.